Thank you for being here. We're learning today about hosting events at a high level. Um, we have myself, Dylan, and then joined by my mom, Eva, and my sister, Colby, and some other members of our team here. We run a bi-coastal top producing team out of Westchester, CT, and Los Angeles, and we run the Every Move Collective at eXp Realty, which brings you these calls every Thursday. Any agent, regardless of company or experience level, is always welcome. And, we encourage you guys to jump in whenever you have questions, whether it's with Tony or with us today. Before we dive in, if you can, just turn on your cameras and drop where you're at in the chat and just don't be shy. Raise your hand, jump in whenever you feel like it. And so now we're going to let Tony from Apex Agent speak. They're really dialed in on all the AI stuff that's going on in our market. He's going to give us a 10-minute overview of what's new this week in AI and the landscape. So
Yep.
thank you.
Awesome. 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 So actually this week, I kind of want to go over something that isn't really AI related, but it's related to everybody on this call. And I actually just got off another call teaching this, but I want to talk about content for a second because a lot of people who here post content pretty consistently. Does anybody post on Instagram, Facebook pretty consistently? And a lot of people struggle with getting engagement and things like that on their Instagram and Facebook platform. And what people don't realize is Instagram and Facebook become a total pay-to-play platform where they're not going to organically grow you unless you already if unless you have already a lot of consistent activity on your account. So gone are the days that you can get 20 organic followers every single month, right? So how do I really get out there more? And one of my cheat codes for content in getting my social media out there more is my database, right? We all have I assume on this call, we all should have a database, right? But what would it look like if you, instead of trying to post every day, you took one day a week and actually filmed something of value? And when I say film something of value, I absolutely do not mean answering a question. Okay. I don't mean answering a question. I mean something of virality. Don't buy new construction until this. Don't buy new construction home until you see this. Don't, how I saved my buyer or seller $200,000, right? Those viral hooks are what you should always lead your content with. But once you post that 1 2 minute reel on Instagram, guess what happens? You take that same 2 minute reel and that database of 50,000 people you have, or 10,000 people, even if your database is 1,000 people, then Colby, I'm looking at you because you have a large database, right? You should be posting one thing a week and then doing an email promoting that, talking about that topic. Hey, do you want to you want to see the full link or the full video? Click here and it links back to my Instagram. Because guess what's going to happen? The moment you start getting, even if they don't engage with that post, just the sheer fact that they clicked on the link in Instagram is going to rank your Instagram organically higher than any other agent's Instagram because you have more traffic organically going there that's not getting paid, right? So that's where I would shift. Instead of trying to post every day, post something of high perceived value once a week, send an email blast to your database, and get people that way, right? So
Would
that
you
was my wind up.
recommend like embedding that in the email or having it as a link?
So what I would do is have the email. I would create the thumbnail photo for that reel or story, whatever you're doing. Embed that thumbnail video to where it's like, oh my God, I'm clicking on it right there in my email,
Yeah.
right? So they feel like they're staying on their email, but it's going to be redirecting them.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I've never really pushed people towards a social post via my newsletter. The
You should
newsletter,
once a week, yeah, every week, once a week. No, this doesn't take place of your newsletter. This is in supplement too. Some people may want the newsletter. Some people may just want to connect with you on social. Be
sorry,
where your
just thinking.
client's
So,
at.
so Tony, we do a once a month newsletter. that we totally create ourselves. It's not
Mhm.
pre-populated. So if we did something that had links to our social media, that would be advantageous as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You should do one social post a week, like what I'm talking about. See, you guys have the unfair advantage because you have Dylan, Colby, Eva. So if one of you took, hey, this week I'm going to do the post. This week, next week, Colby's going to do the post. Eva's going to do the post next week. That's your once a week for three. And then your fourth week or that fourth email is the newsletter. There you go.
Just one quick question for the new agents on the call.
Mhm.
What tip would you have for them looking to grow their presence on social media, like starting from ground up?
One tick I would do is I would go to if I'm a brand new agent just starting out, I would go to every new construction. I would find the Instagram of every new construction builder in my area, and I would go in their last five or 10 posts, see who liked those posts, and then go follow that person that liked the post. And then send them a DM and say, hey, I noticed you followed some new construction communities. Are you looking to buy or sell? Prospect. You don't have to pick up the phone to prospect. You just have to know where to prospect, right? Same thing when it comes to um, when you want to work in probate and things like that. Go to the nursing home's Instagram page, or go. You want clients, go to a 55 plus. If you're whatever your niche is, go to their Instagram, because why do they have those people following them are obviously interested in their services, right? Or let's say you have a agent. I'm just going to use an example because I've been using him for a while. This is as an example. Let's say I want to, you know, find the most viral agent in my area. I'm going to go to their Instagram account. I'm going to go to their Instagram account and I'm going to turn around and DM all their followers. I'm not going to say that I notice you follow Colby Casoria. I'm going to say, hey, I noticed you follow a few agents in the area. Have you been looking to buy or sell? Send that DM 50 times a day.
So
So,
good.
yeah.
So
So,
simple.
yeah. Yeah. Just get out there and do it. So,
Cool.
alrighty, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Appreciate you.
No problem.
See ya.
See ya.
You said
See you soon.
Dylan.
one
What's
thing
up?
I would recommend everybody on the call to do is go follow Tony.
Yeah, they've got great tips. They do a ton of
Really great tips.
yeah, they do a ton of training every day, every week. So we'll get into the bulk of our call today, which is talking about hosting client and agent events. Some of you, a lot of you have attended our virtual calls, but we also do them in person, locally, on a month by month level, but also we do big annual events. We attend a lot of events. So we're going to share some of what we've learned in the process of hosting so that hopefully you can duplicate this in your market, or collaborate with us on an event. There are a couple people on our team here. Like if there's something that excites you, let us know. So let me just share my screen and then we can get rocking. Can everyone see this? Yes?
Yep,
Hmm.
we can see it.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So, sorry, what was that?
Nope, go ahead.
Oh, so we are going to be talking about why to host events. For us, events are really about building deeper relationships. But the side effects of that is you end up getting a lot of repeat referrals and you become an omnipresence in your market, which really helps with longevity over time. The real estate industry is not a short-term play. And so you have to be doing things to really develop your reputation, your presence in a market, and events are a really great way to do that. And you can do them on a small budget, you can do them on a big budget. It doesn't have to be this big, luxury event. It can be a small little get together in a coffee shop. So, um, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about client events today and agent events because not only is it important to nurture your client sphere to drive repeat business. But also, Mom, can you speak a little bit to agent events, how attending events and hosting agent events has developed your referral relationships over time?
Sure. Agent events have been a very big part of my business. At one point in time, about 70% of my business was agent to agent. That was very purposeful. I did that with the intention to, uh, I'd host an event. Initially, it started to thank people who had sent us referrals, and it grew to people that I wanted to develop relationships with as well. And when I was doing agent events pretty routinely at my previous company, we were up to about 500 agents per event. So you can build up from a small event to larger events. And then, here more recently, Colby, Dylan, and I have hosted, 2 years in a row event, approximately about 100 to 125 agents.
Yes. So starting with client events, why host client events? The biggest reason to host client, sorry, yeah.
We should just by show of hands or in the chat, how many people here do already host events routinely? I'm just curious. Um, uh,
Michael
that's right. I
does.
know Michael does. Anybody else here doing events right now, or just here to learn? Joanna, you must be, right?
Strong
Yeah,
desire to learn.
I've done, I'm here definitely to learn more. I've done the events in the past. I haven't done any this year, but I did one last year with the
Great.
client.
Excellent.
Cool.
And feel free to jump in here because if you have done events in the past, we can learn from each other. So don't
Yeah.
hesitate to come off mic and jump in. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
in fact,
Oh,
you'll
sorry.
see one of the events that we talk about in here is something we just got an idea for last week. We haven't tried it. You might be first, you might even get around to it before us. So we'll see. Oops, stop share, wrong screen. Let's see. Um, can you guys see anything right now?
Just
Uh,
everybody. While you're trying to figure that out, I think what we were going to be talking about is why, what are we trying to determine as to why we're hosting events? So I think defining what you would like to achieve prior to either setting a specific event or prior to planning your year out. Understanding what you're looking to achieve from each event is super important.
it's back up now, Colby.
Okay,
Yep,
got
we're
it. That
here.
was weird. I got a really funny notification I've never gotten before. Anyway, so we're starting with the client event side of things. So there really is a true cost to being forgotten. I don't know if people know this stat or familiar with this stat, but up to 70% of home buyers forget their agent's name within 1 year of closing. That's a massive loss in potential business. My mom can speak from experience. Yes, Michael?
Yeah, this is something I talk about at presentations I do. You guys know I do like 20 or 30 presentations a year at real estate offices. And I had a realtor help me sell my house in Ossining and buy my house in Connecticut. And he never stayed in touch, doesn't do events, doesn't send me any kind of happy home anniversary or whatever you
Yeah.
call it, nothing. And he's lost out on 7 figures of referrals because of it, because he's just been forgotten. He didn't stay true and genuine to our relationship, didn't stay in touch. And I have heard that stat so many times that less than, 25% of people use the same realtor again. And what a shame.
Yep.
Yeah, totally.
I
And,
know we want to move on from this, but I just want to also say that, you know, when you do stay in touch, they not only send you their repeat business, but they send you other repeat business, other people that they know.
Yep, my mother-in-law passed, and my wife and her sisters needed to sell the estate. There was other referrals from friends that had divorces that needed to sell, all different types of stuff they would have got from me, but I gave it to other realtors.
yeah. I mean, the reality is for most clients, when they're ready to sell or they're ready to buy, they're looking for the realtor who is in front of them. Whether that's the person that they started following on social media with interesting content that catches their eye, or, it's someone that they met at the grocery store. But by doing events and keeping people close year after year after year, you become more like their like real estate of advisor, like, on retainer without being on retainer, someone that they can turn to anytime they have a real estate question. They're closely in touch with you, they're attending your events,
Hi,
and they wouldn't
Bonnie.
even
This is
think of going
Colby
somewhere
from
else,
Waffle House
right?
Master Office. How
Oh,
are you?
someone's unmuted. Let me mute them. Okay, so on to the next slide. We want to talk to you about one, pretty simple client event that we do every year that makes a really, really big impact. So in early November, we partner with our lender on space and costs on hosting an annual holiday portrait. We, hire a local photographer to come in and set up a in-office holiday photo shoot. How many times have you missed your family holiday photo shoot because you didn't get around to it because life got busy, you didn't get to the mall, you didn't get around to scheduling it? So this is solving a problem for families, and it's fun. We host crafts for the kids, we have food, they get to reconnect. We get to reconnect with them, they get to reconnect with us. We get to talk to them about how things have been since they moved into their house, or, they moved neighborhoods. Mom, you want to share a little bit more about this?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'd like to say that I've been in business for about 15 years, and one of the staples that I have done throughout my career is pies. I've always given out Thanksgiving pies. And so the idea for the annual holiday portrait event kind of grew out of that because we were really good at staying in touch with our past clients. And at one point we were giving out like 200 pies. And my business is broad throughout New York and Connecticut. So giving out those personally delivered pies was so rewarding, but also so hard to keep up with. So we thought, like, well, how can we do this? And I'm sure many of you have heard, have people come to you for the pie. And again, my business is broad, so I didn't envision somebody coming to a White Plains location from Northern Connecticut to pick up a $7 pie for Thanksgiving. So you got to make it valuable, right? And that's where this was born out of. So take a look at your business, see where it's coming from, and figure out creative ways to incorporate things of value into your world. And we did this, and we also give out pies. When people come to the photo shoot, we actually have pies there and we offer them to people. So we have, because it was hard to give up that tradition of the pie. So somehow I've linked it with it. And it makes it valuable. So, I would say look at who you're trying to engage and thank, and make sure what you're picking is something that they see as value.
Rima?
Quick question on that, Eva. Typically, like, people want to do their holiday photos in September, right? So how is the pie event, like, how are you marrying that with holiday photos early enough that they're getting good portraits, but late enough that the pies are available?
So we are finding that if we do a very early November event, if we're working with a photographer that understands the need to turn the photos in a certain amount of time, we are able to incorporate both. Part of it is the communication up front. If we, and I will admit, we've only done this a couple of years in a row, so we're learning. One of the things we'll do differently this year is come September, or mid-September, beginning of October, we're going to say that this is going to be an opportunity so that people know in advance that they can count on this. We say these are going to be the dates. You can count on the photos back in time for your Christmas or holiday or card photos. So communicating properly to the people so they know they can count on it, and making sure you're doing it in advance, making sure the people that are working with you understand the importance of timing.
And is this only for past clients?
Predominantly, yes. Yes.
However, I think that, depending on what your overhead costs are with the photographer and with the space, there is totally the opportunity to cast a wider net. You could even do this outside. It's just a matter of prioritizing the clients you've already worked with and making sure you have enough time in the schedule. Like we actually have the clients, we'll send them links leading into this event and have them book a time using Calendly or Google Calendar. Like they'll have like a 20, 30-minute slot for their photos so that people are stacked and they're actually scheduled throughout the day.
And I will say that we have offered it out to vendors that we work with that aren't in conflict with the people that are sponsoring it. So, for example, this particular event that we do, we partner with a lender, and she provides the space. We've partnered with a variety of other people. So it wouldn't be unusual for me to invite maybe my home inspector that I use all the time and I rely on him. And I might say, hey, bring your family, come take a photo. So you can get some leverage with other people besides just your clients. New
Referrals come from
clients,
everywhere.
yeah, new clients, you could also do something different for new clients if you can't combine it here.
Okay. So some other ideas, in the past we've done a movie night. You can, like my mom mentioned, you can do pick up, like have people come pick up your pies. Maybe be mindful of what your market's like and how far people have to drive to do that. But if you turn it into like an event in the park with crafts and it's like fall and it's nice out, that could be really nice. Um, you can, do a flower or a wreath making. This can be, 5 people. This can be 10 people and can be larger. It doesn't need to be crazy. You don't need this to be a big event for people to really kind of enjoy themselves. You're giving people an opportunity to express their creativity. Mini golf events, Super Bowl watch parties, Easter egg hunt. This is something that like I said, we were going to share a little bit about an event that one of our colleagues told us he did. This isn't something we've personally done yet, but he just hosted an Easter egg hunt in his market for the first time ever this year. He had his director of marketing create a website for him to be like the landing page for that. And it was the only Easter egg hunt locally for families to attend in his entire market. So this was not just a real estate event. This was an Easter egg hunt hosted by a local real estate agent. He put it on Eventbrite and just marketed it as an Easter egg event. He really like his branding was in the footnote, you know. He had 1,200 people show up. Pretty incredible, if you ask me. So this is events can just be an opportunity too to look at what the gaps are in your market and fill that need for families and develop relationships over time. So
Yeah.
make sure to leverage your CRM, but also leverage sites like Eventbrite that are going to make these events as public as possible. If you're not trying to have it be intimate and just for your clients, if you're looking to truly use your events to grow within your community, make sure that people can see it.
Yeah. And I'll add here, we're talking about things that we have and haven't done yet. I think a couple of things like the Easter egg hunt, I love. And that is something we will definitely look at incorporating this coming year. We'll look to partner with people on it so that it's not just on us, to pay for it. And we rely heavily on our team. Everybody participates. Dylan can tell you, Margaret can tell you that, it's all hands on deck because it's going to benefit everybody. And if you're on your own, that's okay too, because if you partner with somebody, they're your additional hands as well. And I think that, there isn't enough time for us today to get into every specific thing about every event that we've done or we're going to do, but we're a resource. Use us as a resource. Don't hesitate to reach out to us and say, what worked? What didn't work? How can, we not make the same mistakes you made? How can we optimize what we're doing?
I can say I've delivered my fair share of pies over the years. You probably even
I
before
must
I was
admit,
working for
I
her.
must admit that I was really the least, I really didn't want to give up the pies. And I felt like my team might leave me if I didn't give up the pies because we were delivering pies like the day before Thanksgiving in snow, knocking on people's doors. It was a tough one. But you know how many pieces of business I got back for those pies? and how rewarding it was to say, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're doing this still. It's so great to see you. Come in and see my kitchen." Really, really rewarding ways to keep your business.
Does anyone have any questions before? I mean, we're going to talk to you a little bit about the agent events and how we develop agent relationships. And then towards the end of the call, we're going to actually walk you through like a step by step how to like think about planning events and the strategy behind it. But does anyone have any questions about the client events so far? Okay. All right. So now the big question is why host agent events? You know, why go out of my way to develop relationships with other agents? And the important answer to that is because 160 to 200,000 deals per year in the US are agent to agent referrals. So, you know, if you're not capitalizing on that opportunity, I mean, it's a small percentage still of how many deals happen per year, but that's a lot of deals. How many of you would be happy with 5 of those being agent to agent referrals per year? So there's a real opportunity. I've watched my mom do it successfully in the nearly 20 years that she's been in this career. And so I saw what she was doing worked. And I thought, yeah, that's how I want to grow my business too. And I'm going to attend events, I'm going to host events. And, you know, I just got one of my first client referrals from out of state to California because I more recently got my license here. And, you know, it's just really affirming that developing relationships with agents over time does lead to people remembering you, thinking of you, and trusting you. So, yeah, those are the stats on that. These are the different events that we run. Some of you have been to or are aware of the annual New York event that we host each year. We do it in May. You know, it was around actually 150 people this year, including our speakers and our sponsors. And it's a training event for agents. We have agents come in from all over the country and all over the you know tri-state area region to attend this event, network, and learn together. We've had agents from out of town speak on stage on panels, and the people in the audience have sent them referrals. So not just hosting the event leads to developing referral relationships, but speaking at events can develop your referral relationships.
Yeah, and I'll add to that because recently, or at least since I've been with EXP, I've been asked to speak at events. And, you know, being the only agent from your area in the room is significant. And if you're able to speak on a topic and resonate with people and connect with people during that event, they will remember you, you know, more than just a passing, I met you for 5 minutes kind of thing. And they will refer to you.
Yeah.
And vice versa. It's nice to have a go-to when somebody says, "Who do you know in New Hampshire?" Or, you know, "Who do you know here? Or who do you know there?" And you really know. That's important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then, you know, depending on your market, these coffee connections are something that we've started doing this year. You know, I know that my mom attends other coffee connections and hosts her own, crossing county lines. I mean, you know, in that instance, it's going to be more local agents coming together to be in community and network together. But you know, for me in Los Angeles, if I have a coffee connection here, which I do them as well, if I have someone who's coming from the other side of Los Angeles, an hour and a half away sometimes on a bad day, maybe more, 2 hours away on a bad day because Los Angeles is huge and the traffic is horrible, like I would partner with an agent on the other side of town to work a client and be most effective and available for that client because getting around the city is so challenging. And so if someone comes to my coffee connection and I know that they live in Pasadena and I'm over here in Santa Monica, that is a referral relationship. So you know, we host agent events because we're also growing a team. So that's part of why we do our coffee connections, but there are other opportunities in coffee connections for developing relationships. And it's also just when you know the agents from your market, it's easier to do business with agents when they're on the other side of the deal, when you already have a relationship with them.
Yeah, I was going to just add that actually. It's very significant. And people have asked me, why do you do an event? Why would you do this New York event? And the reason is to develop relationships with people in our marketplace. Many of you, I think referrals go across broker, they're broker agnostic. It's more about the trust you have in a person than the brokerage. And the more you can meet people at a real level, like on the coffee connections and at the events, we're really sitting and chatting and talking with people. And then you do it again and again. And then when you're putting an offer in on something that's going highest and best, they know who you are. And there's a level of trust built in there. Also, I want to just add on the coffee connections, it's not just about meeting other agents. Like Dylan was able to connect with one of our vendors, a moving company, almost on the first meeting, that we went to. And that has turned out to be very fruitful, right, Dylan? I mean, you could talk about that for a second if you want.
Yeah, I mean, so Slattery Moving has become one of our preferred movers. They really handle it all. They're not a national company, but they do cover pretty much all of the Eastern Seaboard, north to south. So, if you need anything like that, it's good to have somebody in your corner that can speak to you, and they really do everything at a high level. They, offer, co-branding on boxes and things like that if you want to really get involved with them on a higher level. And, also at like maybe more at the Rockland Coffee Hour so far, we've met inspector options and things like that. They have every time we'll have someone sponsor those events too. So
Yeah,
some,
developing a
Yeah.
strong vendor network that you can trust and feel really confident recommending to your clients is huge. So this is just a way to be that, full resource for your clients in their experience. But I do want to make sure that we keep
Yep.
moving on
Move
past this
on.
slide. So lastly, we host these weekly EMC masterminds. We've been doing these for 2.5 years. We recently expanded from bi-monthly to weekly. What's great about these calls is just again, the omnipresence of being here every week, showing up, providing value, and reminding people, that's not why I do the calls, but it is a healthy reminder like, hey, I'm in Los Angeles. And so hopefully when you guys have a client moving to Los Angeles, you'll think of me. It's a side effect to, what we're trying to achieve with these calls, which is community and training and pouring back into agents. But there's a lot of opportunity here to remain consistently present in front of someone so that they think of you when they need you. And week after week is no better way to do that. So that's a little bit about that. And then the big question with this is really, where do I start? And we'd like to challenge you to believe that just because it's the middle of the year doesn't mean you can't start now. 6 months is plenty of time to execute an event between now and the end of the year. So, thinking back on some of the ideas that we already shared, think about what type of event you would be excited to execute in the next 6 months. Write it down on a piece of paper, and we'll get into how long you should take to plan for those events. But, hold yourself to it. You have time in 2026 to complete an event.
Yeah.
It could
If I
be
can just
a
comment, Cole,
Mhm.
two things. I think most people's objection is that they don't have enough time to plan it, and Colby just touched on that. And also a lot of people's objection is cost. But these do not have to cost you a lot of money. Our position, and you can take your own position however you want to make it work. Our position is we collaborate with our vendors, and we don't ask them to sponsor us. We give them an opportunity to participate in an event that they otherwise wouldn't be able to afford on their own. And as Colby talks a little bit about our primary event, um, we'll touch on that because that event costs, almost $40,000, but it didn't cost us $40,000.
Right. Yeah. So, decide what type of event you're excited to execute in the next 6 months, whether it's an outdoor event, an indoor event, a social event, a crafting event, family oriented. Think outside the box. Use social media to support you in your brainstorming. I recently went to an event out here that was just a hiking event for a bunch of colleagues. It was awesome. We just went on this beautiful hike together. Like that costed nothing. There was a sponsor who brought like sponsored this this juice bar so that people could have a really healthy juice before going on this hike, but it can be low cost. That costed under $100. So uh, we would recommend that at the end of this year, don't wait until 2027 to start planning your events for 2027. Start thinking now about what event you can do by the end of this year and what events you want to lead with in 2027. How many are you going to do? How many of them are going to be agent events versus client events? Where do you want to have them? What do you want them to feel like? How are you going to execute them? What partners do you need involved? What sort of budget do you need involved to make sure that these can be as good as they can be? We'll get into how long you should plan in advance for. And something to keep in mind is that your bigger events are definitely supported by your smaller events. So that's not to discourage you from doing a big event or a small event. Start small and then grow it big. But those big events, it really helps to be present in your market as someone who hosts events regularly to kind of build into those larger events. Hopefully that makes sense. So let's get into planning your event. So this is what we have found works for us. I can't say that we actually always plan our big annual events 9 months in advance, but we sure as heck are talking about it and, trying. I know life gets busy and sometimes it's hard to take time in your day 9 months in advance to plan for something that feels so far out, but believe me, it really it speeds up and it gets away from you and suddenly you've got a month and a half left to go and you're slammed. So the earlier you can start on these big 150 person, mastermind events, the better. At least the date, the venue, and starting to have conversations with sponsors. It definitely helps sponsors to know in advance what they need to budget for in their year. So that's something to
Yeah.
consider. Was there a question? Or maybe
No,
something.
I was just going to comment that more that when you do it more than once, like for us, we've just done our second big event. And this year going forward, we're more prepared to do our third because we've worked through the kinks. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can have it at the same place that we had it this year because it's a year away.
Yes.
And we learned from what we did this year.
We're already on the precipice of solidifying our date for May next year. So just to give you an idea of how helpful it is to plan these in advance. Quarterly events, if you're doing something on a smaller scale, like maybe a lunch and learn with 30 people or something like that, planning 4 to 5 months in advance would be great. You could totally swing it in less, but it depends on how stressed or not stressed you want to be. These monthly coffee hours, you can pull them together pretty last minute because they're meant to be casual, like getting people together in a space like that. I think the client events take more lead time than the agent events. Agent events, people can move fast and just show up and network. But for the client events, you want to make sure they're done right, presented right, plan them in advance, decide what you want to do. These virtual lineups, just to give you an inside look of what we do, like I said, we host these every month, every week. We plan our lineups at least 6 calls in advance. So we already have speakers planned for the next 6 calls. So when I meet someone new who I would think would be a great speaker on one of our calls, I'm scheduling them for August or September because that's how filled out we already are with
We
our
used to
lineup.
do it quarterly when we were doing every other week, we'd do it quarterly. And I want to jump to our next slide because I'm looking at time. But I do want to comment on something that we did that was small and regional coffee hour was when we had the author of When You Knock on Doors, what the heck was that title? Knock on Doors and People Answer. He actually came locally. He happened to be local. And he came and we had it in, the upstairs of a restaurant. We had bagels, coffee. It cost us practically nothing.
Yeah.
And we had a speaker.
He was awesome too.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
he's great.
He was
Speaker
great.
Ross. So consider if you want your event to be free or ticketed. Something to consider is that, we try to make our events free. We want to provide free experiences for clients and for agents. Our clients are not paying us to come get their photo shoot done. Obviously, that is like our give back to our clients at the end of the year. But even our agent events, we really would like to create an environment where people don't have to pay to play. That said, you need to expect that if you're hosting a free event, your no-show rate will be anywhere between 40 and 50%. This dramatically drops to more like 15 to 25% on a ticketed event. So your attendance becomes more unpredictable. So anything you can do on a free event to remind people as much as possible leading into the event and provide like we use like I said on the photo shoot that we provide for families around the holidays, we have a Calendly link. People are booking with Calendly a time slot for their photo, and they are getting reminder after reminder after reminder. And not only are they getting the automated AI reminders, we actually this year had someone on our team pick up the phone and call everyone coming to our event to make sure they were going to be there. It's an extra personal touch. See if you can have an admin do it, or maybe you can carve out a couple hours in your day. But leading into event, that personal touch of picking up the phone and saying, "Hey, I'm really looking forward to seeing you. Do you have any questions before, coming to the event?" will dramatically help attendance. People will cancel last minute. It's just
Also, I think
a part
this
of
is
it.
again a thing where you repeat, 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 right? So we've now thrown two very successful events. Our reputation and the quality of the event is going to help with the attendance. People will want to be there. People that were here last year, like I talk to Annalisa all the time. She's like, "Oh my God, I love that event last year. I'm definitely not missing this year." So as you can build that, it's going to get easier and easier. And if you want to charge, you charge, you make it a nominal amount. The reason I'll just share something personal for me. The reason why I've stuck to the free event thing is when I was at Keller for many years doing events, the comment to me was always, "Wow, you're the only free event. Everybody else is charging." And I liked that. And I wanted to stay with that. But I do see value in what Colby just talked about if you want to charge a small amount. It really just depends on who you think your audience is and what works best for you.
Yeah, and actually, something that we didn't mention that I think now, before it gets away from us, is, oh, actually, it'll come up on a later slide. I'll get there. So choose your date, choose your venue, use AI to come up with ideas. If you don't know where you want to host an event, like if that feels like a sticking point for you, you're like, I've got this great idea. I just don't know where to do it. Rima, you're saying like, yeah, I struggle with that. First of all, pick up the phone and call one of us and we'll brainstorm with you. Definitely leverage AI to help you brainstorm, but also call your local friends, your past clients, and ask them, like, I'm thinking of hosting this event. Would you be excited about this? Like, any ideas? Do you know any business owners that would be excited about partnering? I'd love to partner with someone in the community who owns a business. And then you allow people to plug you into people and you really get to build something that is localized. So that's something to consider. I've been hosting events out here in California. I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce here. I meet business owners all the time. I just hosted an event at a golf club because I went to an event at the golf club and I, at the event, said to the guy, "This is an amazing space. Can I borrow it for an event of mine?" He's like, "Absolutely." So the more you're in community, the more opportunities will come through your door. So, again, give sponsors some lead time leading into these events. The sooner that they can plan their yearly budgets for events, the better. So just something to keep in mind as you consider partnering with
Yeah.
sponsors. Um, and if you're not really sure about, what to ask for, it obviously is totally case by case. Sometimes we have a sponsor spend $150 sponsoring a small event at a coffee shop. Sometimes they're spending $5,000 on a sponsorship package for one of our large events. So it runs the gamut. Talk to us about it if you have questions about that.
I would
Uh,
strongly suggest if you're hosting a bigger event that you come up with sponsorship tiers. And you can do something, you know, as high as 5,000 or as low as 100. Think it through though. Like for example, the event that we just hosted, it was more than $100 a person. So we weren't going to have somebody sponsor $100 amount and then come to the event because then they're basically just paying for themselves. So you have to tier it appropriately. You have to look at it and then set it up. We had some people sponsor for $500, but they didn't come to the event. They just had, you know, things on the
Logo
tables.
placement. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And
And
really, mapping the experience in advance is really important. Understanding what that hour by hour agenda looks like, whether it's an Easter egg hunt or it's an event for agents that's in a training event. Like you're definitely going to want to have a flow, like a day of show flow, if you will. And, of course, I have other reminders here, deciding who you're inviting. When you know who you're inviting, then you know how to invite them. You know how you can start to think about the best way to promote it to those types of people. So that's a little bit on planning your events. I do want to talk about promoting them. Obviously you got to use your CRM. You're going to have to be visible on social media. If you really want to cast a wide net outside of your pre-existing clients or agent referral database, definitely consider going on Eventbrite. You can also look into Meetup. These are sites out there that are really meant to leverage the SEO of event to put it in front of the right people. So I attend events all the time here in Los Angeles because I'll be like targeted events for entrepreneurs or realtors. I'm like, oh, that looks like an interesting mixer. I'll go to that. I have no idea who's hosting them. It's just something I saw on Eventbrite. So this is how events like that Easter egg hunt gain 1,200 attendees, is making sure that you're super visible. More reminders than you think you need. Do not just remind someone the day before the event. When we hosted our event in New York this couple months ago, we sent out a reminder. We had someone calling everyone personally the week before the event. We sent out a 5-day reminder, a 4-day reminder, a 3-day reminder, night before, morning of. Like you need, especially on these free events where the no-show rate is so high, 40 to 50%, the more you can remind people so they can plan for it, the better.
yeah,
Sending personal texts, it can be a big lift depending on how big of an event this is. But especially for the intimate events, those personal texts can go a long way. And if you're hosting an agent event and you really want to focus on those agent events, developing your agent to agent referral business, you obviously don't only want to invite agents from your market. It would be a good idea to Google or check on Zillow who the top agents are in nearby markets or counties that aren't, competitive with you, that you can develop referral relations with and tell them to come. That's a really great way to start to develop like a regional referral database with other agents.
I think that one of the things that you really want to look at as well, and maybe I don't remember, Colby, if it's coming in after this, but uh, when somebody has a personal connection to your event, they're more likely to come. Our events are non-denominational, and we don't have individual keynotes that are outside of our company, but we do have panels that are outside of our company. And that's very intentional, to get different perspectives. We all benefit from learning from each other. And B, if I have, a brokerage and I'm speaking, or if I have a team and I'm speaking, my team is more likely to attend because I'm speaking. Also, if you're very inclusive like that, it's less, people are less fearful of attending. They don't think like, oh, this is a trick. They just want to get me in the room and lock me up. People feel comfortable when there's a good mix of people attending the event from different brokerages. So that's something that we're very purposeful
I
on.
just wanted to drop one thing in,
Yep.
back on the planning aspect. I didn't think we really touched on it. Like if you're having a big event where there's going to be screens and things, make sure you test your tech because it's very, it can be finicky. Things don't always go exactly the way you want them to go when you're up on stage. And if you haven't tested them prior to, you run into, oops, what's going on? Can't figure it out. And so just make sure you test the slides, your music, your sound, your timer, and things like that to make sure that everything is running smoothly prior to.
Yes, tech is always the biggest day of issue. So being able to prep it in advance is great. So that actually kind of segues into our next slide, which is who do you really need on site to help you run your events? Because if you're so busy running your event that you don't have any time to spend with the attendees, then it sort of defeats the purpose of hosting events to develop relationships. So it's really important that you have a team around you to help support the operations of your event. And if you don't run a team and you don't actually have people on a team who can help you do this, talk to your family, see who's willing to volunteer their time to help you run an event. Ask your friends, hire a high school kid to, work a few hours for 15 bucks an hour or whatever. It's really important that you have someone there to kind of like help with the minutia because believe you me, you can get really caught up in the minutia day of and feel like you're a chicken with your head cut off. So, someone to do the check-in. We always hire videographers for our nice events. It captures content to maximize visibility. The event lives well beyond the day of the event. In that you can promote it on social media. When you do it again, you can use that content to remind people of what it felt like. And you can even yes.
I was going to say, when you're trying to promote this to sponsors, if you have, like this year, it was much easier for us to take the video that we had from last year because people say, well, what is this event about? What does it look like? We were able to take the video from last year and make it part of our presentation when approaching sponsors to work with us on this.
Yeah. And, with videography, you're gonna have to either pony up the budget for it yourself, definitely get those sponsors in place to help mitigate the cost, or you're going to have to get creative and look on something like Fiverr, Upwork for, maybe like a lower cost videographer. Maybe it is a high school student who's in film class and who's learning how to get comfortable behind the camera. Because I would say videography can be one of the biggest costs of these events. Outside of obviously food and drink, videography carries the other biggest price tag. So, just things to keep in mind as you plan these, so that you don't get sticker shock as you start to get all of these things into place. If you can have a day of ops manager that you really trust, highly recommend it. If you're hosting a training event, definitely think in advance about who's going to be hosting and moderating. Are you comfortable behind a microphone? If not, can you get comfortable behind one? And if not, who can you put up there who's going to really create a great experience? And this again goes for Easter egg hunts, for for clients or for agent events. You want to be present. You want to clearly be the host, whether it's you or someone on your team who's actually comfortable speaking into the microphone, but definitely position yourself that way at these events.
Hey, Colby, I
Um,
just want to do a time check because we're down to 5 minutes and I want to make sure that we allow for any questions if needed.
All right,
So
yeah, let's just get through these next two. So, the follow-up on these events is really, really important. I would highly recommend that you do not skip this step. You want to make sure that after an event, you're following up within 24 hours. With our holiday photos, we can't turn around photos to people in 24 hours, but those clients are definitely getting an email saying, hey, you're going to hear from us within the next week with information on how to select your preferred photos and whatever. So just make sure that you, before the event even happens, have your follow-up pre-planned so that you can put it into action immediately after. Definitely pre-plan your follow-up and get clear on exactly what the call to action is. And then, this is really our last slide, which is beyond hosting, what are you attending? Hosting events is great. But first and foremost, for us, we didn't start out hosting events. We started out attending events. We went to other people's events and we learned what worked. And so, this is a typo here. Sorry about that. It's really about, are you putting yourself in rooms where you are the only agent from your market there? Because that's where referrals are built with other agents. And, for clients is, are you creating experiences that are memorable and deepen the relationships that you have with those clients? So consider different ways that you can get involved on a local and national level so that you can, really develop those repeat business over time. So that's about it on that. We really want you to encourage to walk away from this call with clarity on what type of event you want to host before the end of this year. Is anyone brave enough to put that in the chat? We'd love to hear
To
from you. If
commit to
anyone
it.
has an idea that they're thinking about, please let us know because we can brainstorm it live right now here with you, and that could be helpful for other people.
And also, I just want to add here, maybe a part 2 is a good idea if people would be interested, because there's a lot of detail in, for example, the conversation you have with your sponsors, the conversation you might have with your video company and how you negotiate that. So if anybody's interested in that, let us know, and we could probably schedule a small group of people as a sidebar follow-up.
We do have
Anybody have any
someone
questions
here.
now?
We have someone who said they want to do a Halloween community event.
Love that. Where is that? Where would you be doing that? What area of the country?
I am not sure who it says. M Bass is the name.
Please feel free to come off mute too if you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
You don't have to be in mute
West.
jail.
He said Weston, Florida,
Oh,
Nice.
or
that's
she.
nice.
I'm not sure who's who. And then Michael said he wants to do a realtor hiking group in the fall.
We got to partner Michael with Sharon
Yeah, we are. I'm talking with Sharon now, so I'll circle back on that.
because we've got an agent in our group who is really wanting to do some hikes.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Well, she's actually hikes as well, but she's very much in tune to meditation and yoga right now because she's getting certified on what's that really high level yoga? I can't think of it right now. But just not to move too quickly away from the Halloween event. I don't know who that is exactly, but if you want to brainstorm on that, don't hesitate to reach out because I've seen people do them and there's some really great ideas around that. So if anybody wants to talk about that, I'm available, or any of us are available.
Hi,
And
I'm M. Baskins. It's Maxine.
Hi,
oh,
Maxine
hi,
Maxine.
Maxine.
Spencer. Hi there. I'm with Caldwell. So my daughter she's in a neighborhood with a lot of kids, and every year people put out their tables and they have competitions about which home is best. She opens up her yard. She has, the bounce houses and so on, and everybody stops there. We typically hand out little things, to the neighborhood with my card on it, myself and my other daughter, who's also a realtor. But I think we can step it up to the next level. I think at that event, I would want to hand out the invitation for the photo shoot because it's correct. A lot of people plan to do it, but it gets too late and they don't do it. So I think that's a good opportunity to definitely, when they come in addition to us handing out the treats that we do with our cards, to offer the photo shoot for the holidays. That'd be awesome.
That is
I'm gonna
great.
try
That's
that.
such an amazing idea.
You know what
And
you made me think of the parties we used to do when we were younger.
yeah,
Me and Colby, when we were in like middle school, used to partner up with another person in our class and do a big Halloween party. And I mean, it wasn't like a work event thing, but it could easily have been turned into something like that if you wanted it to be work related. It was
Yeah.
we rented out a home and it was like a community place in our local area that, anyone could rent out for a night and just have a party there.
well,
So
it was an older home and we
We
created it and made it a haunted mansion. And we would get some of the parents involved and decorate it in the earlier part of the day. And we would have the adults, it would be like one of those, those scary houses that you go to an amusement park. So we would have the adults actually hide and the
Right.
kids would come in and we had the haunted mansion. It happened to be that both of my kids had birthdays in the like off time of the year, not necessarily like Dylan's was right in the beginning of the year and Colby in the summer. So we made it a birthday party, Halloween party. But if you have that in your town, I think it would be such an amazing thing to do for homeowners with kids. It's so much fun. I will warn you, it is a lot of work.
Yeah, I would
We,
say that if you're interested in doing something like that, like hosting, like building a haunted house and hosting it for the community and not just for your, your kids and their friends, but putting it on Eventbrite and having like people you don't know come and it being an opportunity to develop relationships with people in the township, check out Peerspace and Gigster. It's kind of like Airbnb, but like for event rentals. Some of it's more corporate, but you can definitely find spaces on there that would be like kind of cool for hosting something like that. And they're accustomed to people having events there. It's not like a house where they have a no party policy, you know? It's an event space. They understand that you're going to have an event there. So yeah, check it out. All right, but yeah, we are at the top of the hour. Thank you guys for
Thank
joining us.
you.
Hope this was helpful. Appreciate your participation. And the recording will be up on YouTube and on School, so join us on there. We'll see
on
you
the
next
Halloween
week.
event, if anybody wants to talk to me, I do have a couple of ideas about the neighborhood trick-or-treating thing if you wanted to chat.
Bye,
Thank you.
guys. Have a
Good
great
day, everyone.
weekend.
Thank you for joining us. We
Go
appreciate
Knicks.
it.